Madam President, I rise today with a heavy heart to address devastating tragedies that have shaken communities in Michigan and across this country. Just yesterday, the community of St. Joseph, Michigan, suffered a tragic shooting that cost the lives of 2 dedicated public servants and injured several others. I would like to extend my condolences to the families of bailiffs Joseph Zangaro and Ronald Kenzel, who were fatally shot yesterday in Berrien County, Michigan. Both Joseph and Ronald had distinguished careers as public safety officers prior to serving as bailiffs in the Berrien County Courthouse. Joseph Zangaro retired from the Michigan State Police as post commander of the Bridgman Post and had worked for the Berrien County Trial Court for over 10 years. Ronald Kenzel retired as a sergeant in road patrol with the Benton Charter Police Department in Benton Harbor, Michigan, and was a veteran of the United States Army. I also want to wish Deputy James Atterbury and Kenya Ellis a speedy recovery for the wounds that they received during this attack. Yesterday's incident illustrates a very important fact. Whether as a member of a local police department, a rapid transit officer, or a court bailiff, public safety officers risk their lives every day to keep our families and our communities safe. This is a fact that we can never forget, and a reality that confronts public safety officers and their families every day. Across Michigan, our hearts have been shattered by senseless violence like this, and I know the grief of my fellow Michiganders because I feel this grief in my own heart as well. This is unfortunately not the first tragedy to strike West Michigan this year. We are still reeling from the mass shooting in Kalamazoo in February, where 6 people were killed and 2 were critically injured. Madam President, we are facing a very difficult time in our country's history, and last week's tragedies further demonstrate this point. Within just 48 hours, we saw 2 separate incidents where American citizens died at the hands of those who were sworn to protect them. Then what started out as a peaceful protest in response to those deaths suddenly morphed into an unrelated and horrific attack on law enforcement, an attack on officers who died to protect the rights of protesters to peacefully protest. Let me be clear. Something is wrong when a hardworking and beloved cafeteria supervisor is killed during a routine traffic stop. Something is wrong when police officers, honorably serving and protecting their communities, are killed during a peaceful protest. Something is wrong when a salesman and a father of 4 dies while selling CDs. Something is wrong when a police officer is ambushed and shot while responding to a 911 call for help. Too many precious lives are being lost, not just in Michigan, but in states all across our country. I was heartbroken by the tragic shooting deaths of Alton Sterling in Minnesota and Philandro Castile in Louisiana last week, only to wake up horrified on Friday morning to learn of 5 Dallas police officers, including Michigan native Michael Kroll, who were struck down in the line of duty. Madam President, we have seen enough violence. Across our countries, our communities are outraged and heartbroken at the number of lives that have been lost. While the events of last week are almost too much to bear, images from communities like Chicago, Staten Island, Ferguson, and Baltimore have gripped this nation's attention as well. We've seen tears of sadness, burning storefronts and confrontations between police and young people, as well as peaceful protesters marching through the streets. It is clear that there is a persistent and troubling problem in our country that is eroding away Americans' faith in our justice system. With each troubling incident, it becomes clear that justice in this country is sometimes neither fair nor equal, and we must act now to address this inequity. This problem isn't isolated to our African American communities or to our law enforcement communities. These injustices undermine the very values that our nation is built upon. It is the responsibility of each and every one of us to acknowledge that too many Americans are needlessly dying, and we must come together to stop it. Now more than ever, it is time for us to unite as a country to encourage understanding and compassion for our fellow Americans. Now is the time for us to walk in another one's shoes and acknowledge the experiences that have shaped their views. Now is the time for this body to come together to offer solutions. The American people need us. It is crystal clear that the relationship between law enforcement and the communities they serve is strained, and an overhaul of our criminal justice system is long overdue. On the top of these strained relations, we are continuing to see rising prison populations and unsustainable costs as public budgets remain tight. We see too many at-risk youth being funneled out of our schools and into our prison systems, continuing a vicious cycle in many of our communities. And we see too many people who have served their time only to find that once they get out of prison, they can't find a good job or a stable home. We need a better understanding of the causes of these concerning trends, and we need to identify solutions that will help that we are administering justice in a fair and equitable way for every American, regardless of who they are, where they may live, or their income level. That's why I've introduced legislation with Republican Senators Lindsey Graham of South Carolina and John Cornyn of Texas to create a National Criminal Justice Commission. The commission will be made up of experts on law enforcement, victims' rights, civil liberties, and social services who will be charged with undertaking an 18-month review of our criminal justice system from the top to the bottom, something that has not been done since 1965, more than 50 years ago, during another very difficult time in our nation's history. The goal of this commission is to identify common sense solutions to the serious issues facing our criminal justice system, promote fairness in our laws, build stronger relationships between law enforcement and our communities, and strengthen faith, basic faith, in our criminal justice system. The commission will focus on transparency, issuing recommendations to the President and Congress, and making reports on its findings available to the public and entities within the criminal justice system. It will take a comprehensive approach to reviewing the criminal justice system and will look at numerous issues in light of our current climate. When President Lyndon Johnson's 1965 commission last conducted a comprehensive review over 50 years ago, it was the first time that police, prosecution, defense, and courts and corrections were all examined as a whole. That commission made more than 200 recommendations to improve the criminal justice system, including creating the 911 emergency system that is so ingrained in our society today. Our country has changed significantly over the last 50 years, and another top-to-bottom review of our criminal justice system is long overdue. In fact, the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing, which was created after the troubling situation in Ferguson, strongly recommended the creation of a national commission to evaluate the entire criminal justice system. The National Criminal Justice Commission that my legislation creates will shine a light on the whole scope of our criminal justice system, including police and community relations, our grand jury system, the right to counsel in misdemeanor cases, the lack of speedy trials, and the struggles ex-offenders face in finding housing, employment, and support services after leaving prison. This commission is one critical piece of a larger puzzle we must make in order to take swift action on other aspects of our justice system, like sentencing reform. The Commission also has the support of a wide range of groups, including the Fraternal Order of Police, the NAACP, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the National Urban League, and many other law enforcement and civil rights groups. The National Criminal Justice Commission is vital to understanding the reforms and best practices that we need to reduce crime, help law enforcement do their job safely and effectively, protect our communities, and build a justice system that works for every American. These problems are not easy, and there are no quick answers. It's going to require all of us working together to make these vital changes a reality. But together, we can achieve the promise of this great country: justice for every American, no matter who you are, where you live, or how much money you may have in your pocket.